If you want to know how the pros make a dramatic difference to their photos, then you need to start using the dodge and burn tools. And this video is going to show you exactly how to do that using the 5 secrets. But before we kick off, what does that actually mean? Okay, so what is dodging and burning? Well, it sounds far more complicated than it is, and I'm going to show you that with one of my world famous drawings. So bear with me as I try and show you a really easy way to understand this. So what I'm drawing here is just a plain old circle. I'm going to colour it in flat grey, uniform across, and we end up with a 2-dimensional image. I'm going to denote the burn brush using the pencil, and I'm going to denote the dodge brush using the eraser, or the rubber as we call it in the UK. So by using the burn brush, what I can do is I can go around certain parts of that circle, darkening them, smoothing them out a little bit, and doing the same with the dodge brush. I can lighten and I can take parts of it away. And by using layer upon layer, just touching up the burn and the dodge brushes, you end up with a 3-dimensional image. I know that's super simple, but in essence that's what dodging and burning is. It's a way to give your photographs depth by bringing out that 3-dimensional sort of feeling in your images. Make sense? Now before I start, I know that some people think that you shouldn't edit your photographs. You should just take the photo and what you got is what you get. But this is a negative of Ansel Adams' photograph, and it shows you all the work that he did in his photos in the darkroom before he put them out to the public. So manipulation of photographs has always been a thing, and as far as I'm concerned, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so on to secret number 1, and I'm using Lightroom, but your software will be the same. And the key is to use local adjustments rather than global adjustments that affect the whole image. So if you look at this grey circle again, if I just start to apply global images to the whole thing, what happens when I drop the shadows is the whole circle gets darker. Nothing 3-dimensional about that. And it's the same no matter what slider I use. So if I drop down to the blacks, dropping it all the way down gives me a black circle, and the other way, very light. And the same thing happens with the whites. So basically what we want to do is target certain areas of the circle, and that's when we start to use our dodge and our burn brush. And tip 2 is to show you how to make them. Now trust me, this is super easy, and the way we do it is we use masks. So we click on our masks and we come down to brush, and we're going to make the first one, which is a burn brush. So because we want things to be darker, we're going to lower the blacks and we're going to lower the shadows. So now when I paint on this image, whatever bits I select will get darker. So exactly the same as the demonstration at the start. Now to create a second brush, we just go up and click on plus, select brush again. And because this is going to be a dodge one, we move the highlights up and we move the whites up. And again, now when I paint on here, it's going to lighten the image. So again, you're starting to get the idea. But the cool thing is, if you want to go back and look at the dark stuff, you click on that brush, come back in, and you can add to it. And again, if you want to do the same with the whites, just change the brush and keep going until you're happy. Okay, so on to tip number 3, and that's using light to guide the viewer's eye. Now the human eye is attracted to the brightest area of an image, and we can use that to our advantage. So you can see in these images here, they start off fairly flat and lifeless, but by using dodge and burn, you can start to really accentuate the textures in the landscape. And in this image of the castle, it's a nice image, but again fairly flat, but by using dodge and burn, I can really bring the attention to the castle. And this last image, although it's not the same framing, you can see what I was dealing with at the start, and by really getting creative with dodge and burn, we can bring that building to life. So we're going to put all of this into practice, and we're going to apply it onto one of our images. So I'm going to dive back into Lightroom, and what we've got here is the Old Man of Storr, which I took on the Isle of Skye. Absolutely stunning. Tried to get a unique perspective on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and take it from this, and using the dodge and burn tools that we've learned about, we're going to try and turn it into this. This was my final image. So we might not end up in exactly the same place, but we're going to work with this nonetheless. So if I go into the develop module, you'll see that I've done some basic edits here just now, and that's really just to warm it up a little bit. I've brightened the highlights because I wanted the separation from the back and the foreground, but it's still a really flat image. So what we're going to do, exactly as we talked, is we're going to add our mask, we're going to select brush, and this is going to be the burn brush. So we just click on the brush, and one thing to watch is to make sure that your feather is quite high on this, because you don't want very definite draw lines on there. So I've got it up at 94 just now. I'm going to drop the blacks a little bit, and I'm going to drop the shadows just down a touch as well. So now I can start to paint, and as you can see, it's not overly subtle, but I want to make sure that you can see the effect. And I'm starting to paint in where the shadows already are. Sometimes I just dab on it, but I'm looking for the sides of the rocks that are not facing the sun. So I can start to do that here. And again in the foreground, just a little bit round about there. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to start working on the rock. I'm going to go to a slightly smaller brush, and these little dark crevices, I can start to bring them out using the burn brush. A little bit up here, a little bit down the edge. And because I've got feather on, it doesn't really overspill into the back of the image. The smart brush really does well here. Maybe a little bit in here, and a little bit here. And I'm fairly sure you'll be thinking this looks terrible at the moment, but don't worry, we're going to fix that at the end. I just want to make sure that you can see what we're doing. So again, I'm going to come out a little bit, check and see if there's any other parts of the image that I want to add. Maybe just a little bit down here, a little bit there, and that's us. So now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add another brush, and this is going to be our dodge brush. So I'm going to raise the highlights a little bit. I'm going to raise the whites, and this time I'm going to start painting with a slightly bigger brush, excuse me. And where the sun actually hits, I'm looking to put that in here. It's maybe a little subtle at the moment, so let's just move the highlights, the whites a little bit more, and I can even nudge a little bit of the exposure up. So again, I'm just going in, I'm painting around the areas where the sun was hitting, and again, if I zoom a little bit further in here, I can pick out the lighter areas of the rock, which start to give it some definition. And right up the top here. And the sun was really starting to kiss that stuff up the top. There we go, we zoom that out. Now, again, you'll agree that that doesn't look particularly great, but because I'm using the dodge brush at the moment, I can control the temperature, and the sun was very warm, so I'm just going to heat that up a little bit. And we're starting to get somewhere where I want to be. But you can see that the shadows are far too dark, so I'm going to go back to the burn brush. It shows you what you have highlighted, and if you look at the amount slider, I can start to pull that back until I feel it starts to look a bit more natural. So as always with your masks, if you hover over this eye icon, you can turn them off and on, and you can see it's very, very subtle, but it does start to add a little bit of depth. And the same, if I turn the dodge one on and off, you can see what it's doing. And if you think it's a little bit too much, again, just back into the amount slider and start to pull it back. So the more you do this, and the more you play about with it, just going back to the image that we looked at, I spent quite a bit of considerable time on this, and this is what we ended up with. So don't be scared, just try it. You can dial it back using the amount slider. You can make your edits a little bit softer by not dropping the black so much, but have two brushes and go in and play about with it. It's amazing what you can achieve when you do that. So on to the final tip, and that's basically, dodge and burn isn't going to save all of your images. You still have to be cognizant of good light. So if you see that it's a nice day, there's some dramatic light out there, then using these techniques will enhance your photographs. But if you're going out on an overcast day, your subject is shrouded in shadow, yes, it will make it a little bit better, but it won't make it a portfolio image. So these tools are here to enhance what you've already got. So try and get it good in camera, and then bring it all out in the edit. So why don't you try this in some of your older images and see if you can get the technique down, and then start using it moving forward. Or if you want to learn more about Lightroom, then I would watch this video here, because I go over the basics and show you how to get to grips with Lightroom, and I'll see you in the next one.